everybody. Welcome back to Beyond the Veil Tarot and Astrology. My name is Candice Marie. Thank you for joining me. Excited to be back doing another Astro Musings video, which will also kind of include the current Venus in Pisces transit. So if you stay tuned to the end, I will be talking about how it's going to affect each and every one of the 12 signs. Well, I have a really fun video for you guys today. Hopefully you enjoy this. I'm going to go back and forth from my notes here because this is something that I want to stay on task with, make sure I get everything out. But today I'm going to talk to you guys a little bit about fate versus free will in astrology, some of my beliefs, and just some stuff that I've kind of come across in the midst of some of these Jupiter and Neptune transits. And I thought it would be really helpful for helping some people better understand the difference, maintain the faith, and fall out of victim mentality, and not allow or encourage people to use their chart as a crutch for why they are avoiding making changes or making excuses. So in honor of the Jupiter-Neptune conjunctions, I have been reflecting on this a lot. I've received dozens of emails from people that have recommendations or questions about astrology, especially when it comes to making new videos, and just this one has come up a lot recently. Now, Neptune can easily paint a picture like in our mind, showing us the potential of what we believe in, what we feel like could happen, what the future may hold, especially in conjunction with Jupiter. You know, Jupiter's support with this conjunction that's really setting up pretty strongly over the next week is almost taking what has been canvases of what we do believe, what we do envision, and blowing it up and turning them into full-blown projection screens. So remember, anything that Jupiter touches, he makes bigger. So there can be a sense of us thinking bigger, going deeper, feeling more, being much more tuned in, tapped in when it comes to our beliefs and our visions. The positive side of Neptune can be very creative and artistic and dreamy and whimsical and spiritual and very open. And Neptune teaches us to trust the process as long as we're not being led down the beaten path. And, you know, on the flip side, Neptune can also be this kind of spiraling, getting lost in illusions, not knowing what direction we're going in, feeling a little bit emotionally rattled, and having fear in regards to things falling apart. So, you know, it's safe to say that right now there's a lot of people who are going to fall on both sides of the spectrum. The other side of this is that there is a sadness to this energy. And, you know, whenever we're seeing outer planets conjunct in water signs in general, it has this much more emotional kind of empathic feeling. And in the sign of Pisces, it's, oh, things are changing. How do I feel about that? Things are dissolving. What's going to happen? You know, and so it's really asking a lot of us to not really lean too far into the sadness, although I understand the state of the world can be a little rocky right now. It's encouraging us to let go and to dissolve certain things that are no longer our personal beliefs or truth. But it also holds truth, Jupiter, and guidance for what we gain by letting go. So there's lessons to be learned through that, emotionally, physically, spiritually, financially, you name it. We're kind of learning we're letting go and letting God. There was some lesson to it, so it almost feels like having this trust fall with the universe at the moment. And in the background, we see Saturn in Aquarius, which is reminding us more of facts and science and knowledge and what we know, right? So Aquarius is more what we know. Pisces is more what we believe. So there's this back and forth between like, this is what I know, but this is what I'm believing in. So the more that we're getting a stronghold with these Saturn Aquarius transits, we're redefining what we know. We're learning more. We're adding more intelligence, facts into our lives and more structure, which then in turn is either going to help us dissolve or build new beliefs in general. Okay, so just a heads up, that's kind of what's going on. You know, and it's conflicting energy with Jupiter and Neptune, who really want us to focus more on what we believe in. And it's clear now why so many people, I think, are questioning their life purpose, their direction, their belief system, whether you still believe in a certain, spiritual practice, a religious practice, a system, anything like that. There's a lot of like questioning, like, well, what do I believe in? And I think there's a lot of people also questioning, is there a higher power? Is there a grand plan or someone or something that's pulling the strings up there? Certainly these questions do kind of come up a lot when we're looking at Jupiter aspects, but when it's in conjunction to Neptune, we can be seeing that we're having to lean more into how our beliefs are actually making us feel and if it's in alignment with the vision of the life that we're trying to create. Now, Venus is in Pisces. It moved into Pisces just recently, the last couple days. And Venus is exalted in Pisces, the water sign. It's also mutable, so it's changeable. Very emotional, very empathic, almost a little self-sacrificial, but definitely a nice break getting it out of a Saturn-based sign. And it's building sandcastles in the sand. That's basically what's going on right now, asking us to apply what we know so we can better structure a life that we believe in. But you got to feel it first. Remember, Venus asks us to open up. This has sent a number of us down a rabbit hole, or perhaps even in a bit of a spiral, seeking something more. Some are seeking truth. Others are seeking some sort of emotional validation that everything that we've been through recently, the last couple of months, the last couple of years, or have experienced has not been in vain, but a part of like a grander plan, right? Especially when I think of Jupiter and Neptune coming together. And, when I really look at the topic of fate versus free will, this is probably the thing that I get asked about the most in astrology. I have clients who ask about it, students who ask about it, and it really boils down to this. Free will relates to our exercise of will when performing actions in the present, okay? So in the right now, in the moment. Your day-to-day actions, you being present and not reminiscing or getting hung up on the past or worrying about the future is where you actually make change, and it's where you actually start to see changes when it comes to your, particular, free will or fate. Whereas fate is the sum total of the effects of past actions that influence our present life. Okay, so that's the difference. Free will is like what we're doing day to day. Fate is like, okay, now here are kind of like the repercussions of what has been influencing us. Now, the exercise of free will in the past becomes our fate in the present. So in a broader sense, free will and fate are not separate. They are intertwined. And I guess this is kind of like where I differ from some other readers or from some other astrologers, because it's like a huge fundamental part of my belief system and my practice when I'm working with clients. Now, fate can be described as also like a stretch of one's imagination and something that happens to us that seems like it's out of our control. On the other hand, free will is a phenomenon that when we exercise our free will to accomplish something or abstain from doing it. So if you think about the two, okay, and astrology, there's no logical approach to astrology if we believe that we don't have free will, right? So it's like both of them support each other. So you can't go into astrology just assuming that it's all going to be fated events. And I think that's part of why I love astrology. I think that it's really important that if you're practicing astrology to believe in it and realize that the truth really lies somewhere in between the two. And while some things are set in stone, most aren't. And the beauty of studying transits and placements in the universe is there's always this sense of the universe or the planets rerouting you, right? I've seen this a lot with clients' charts where, they know they have a transit coming up, they're dreading it, they're trying to avoid it, and they may be able to drag it out, but then once they have a Saturn conjunction or a Pluto square or a Mars opposition, it ends up coming up anyway. So you can be rerouted, so to say, in positive and in negative transit. So there are some things that I've seen in sessions where people just try to delay or deny the inevitable, and it ends up coming up one way or another, positive or negative. So to some extent, I've seen this also with more positive transits where clients are knowing that certain things are going to unfold and kind of come about, but they're waiting for it to kind of show up. Astrology is kind of like a locker combination where the transits work like you're turning the dial and it clicks, and then you turn the dial another way and it clicks, and then you turn it again and then it unlocks, right? And some people have that unlocking sequence when they're 17, 18, 19 years old. Some don't really get to that point of unlocking the true potential until they're 60, 70 years old. It's really going to be based off of the unique configurations in your chart. But once again, like I said, there's no logical approach to astrology assuming that we 100% have free will either. So there is some sense of there being something else that is interacting with us or divinely guiding us or having some kind of influence, some kind of higher power. According to evolutionary astrology, though, both fate and free will are actually true. And I think that that's why my real love in astrology is not even just so much Western astrology, but it's bringing in that evolutionary aspect that, you know, the belief system is that life is all about fate and learning to let go and let God, allowing life to flow and things to come in. That no matter how hard we try, there are some predestined and fated events that will always show up in our natal horoscope. And that for some of us, it really does respond, or things do happen as a result of our conscious life choices. And it honors our will and our drive to achieve certain outcomes and allow some of these things to actually come about. And certain thought patterns and just certain decisions that we're making are a part of our own destiny. It's up to you to decide if you are going to let these things happen. It's up to you to use both sides of the track when it comes to fate versus free will to get to where it is that you want to go. Your own motivation determines basically what takes place in your horoscope. Planets that are transiting simply provide the lessons and will speak to you literally or symbolically. So that's the other thing that I think is really interesting about astrology, is that while I have seen numerous time and time again, transits happen, they play out like textbook, but more so than not, especially in my own life, I've noticed that it can play out in this very figurative or kind of symbolic way. I've just noticed it never comes the way that you think it's going to come, even if you really try to pinpoint it, depending on that planet's archetypal theme or energies, or perhaps maybe even just the timing, right? It never, ever, ever comes the way that you think it's going to come. And what I love about astrology is that it gives us the ability to have purpose, right? A sense of life direction, divine timing, cosmic order, knowing that specific events are happening for just cause, or they have reason, and they come about at opportune moments to allow us to rise to the occasion and actually supersede our astrological placements. That is why we're here. That's why we keep coming back. You have free will. The freedom is in part what makes us human. You know, it's our God-given right. That's part of why we came here, is to be able to experience and have feelings and have choice. However, it's up to you to exercise that freedom. And I think what's beautiful is that an astrology reading can really provide greater clarity and understanding, so you have a better opportunity to make the right choices in your life at the right times. And I guess this leads me back to one of my favorite quotes. The stars impel, they do not compel, okay? They help direct us in where we need to go, where we're meant to go. It does not necessarily compel us to do one thing or another. And while I've seen charts that have had so much untapped potential that did not always manifest into what they could have been, I'm not going to say should have, because that's, an opinion, and everybody's got an opinion, but I've seen more charts that actually beat the odds and use challenging aspects to their advantage to be able to make lemonade. Okay? So in honor of this, I want to talk to you guys about a couple of just tips and ways to better use astrology, especially if in the midst of these transits, you're kind of on the path of redefining what it is that you believe in and how you are practicing more spiritual consciousness and awareness, especially if we're feeling like you're in the driver's seat of your own life, rather than feeling like life is just happening to you or transits are just happening to you. Number one would be, I think what's interesting about astrology is that it holds us accountable. And, when we get into the theme of repeating the same patterns, especially in transits in a chart, or if there's like a particular conjunction or stellium or square, and it's just, I have a client that keeps falling into the same patterns, repeating the same patterns can trap you, and it can make you feel like you're a victim of fate. And I think that's where having a really good astrologer who can help kind of like break it down and explain to you, what it means and how it plays out in your life so you can become aware of it. Awareness is everything. So you're not feeling victim to some of the placements in your chart, and you're acknowledging and recognizing these patterns rather than leaning on them for a crutch or an explanation as to why you behave the way that you behave. Astrology also helps you better understand yourself and avoid possible traps and pitfalls of life. It allows you to open your eyes to more possibilities of what you can do or where you could go. So this is where, once again, the fate versus free will thing is kind of like, if somebody lays out a map and says, okay, you need to get to this location. There's 3 different routes that you could take. If you take this route, it could be smooth sailing, less traffic, less stop signs, a little bit safer, versus this route, which you're still going to get to your destination, but you're going to have to go through some hills and some mountains, and it might get a little dicey, but you're still going to get to where you're going, versus, okay, hey, you can, actually take the scenic route and it'll be quite lovely, and this is what you'll experience along the way. Astrology is very much the same way. So ultimately, 90% of the time, we're still going to get to that same goal, right? We're still going to see the unfolding throughout our life of this divine plan and this purpose, and coming into this enlightened being who's had all of these experiences that are very much laid out by the cosmic roadmap, which we call our natal chart. And knowing what each path or each particular route is going to give us can give us the ability to go, yeah, I'd rather not go the challenging, difficult way. I'll go this way, right? So that's how we can better kind of use that. It's also not meant to be used as an excuse not to move forward. We want to make sure that we're not falling victim to cookbook explanations and not using our astrological placements as an explanation as to why we're not changing our behavior. And I've got a good sense of humor. I can laugh about stuff, and I've heard a million different times, well, my Mercury's in this sign, or my Sun's conjunct this, so I act this way. And while that's nice that you know that and there's some awareness there, we don't want to get into the pattern of going, well, I have my Mercury square Saturn, so I'm just always going to kind of feel defeated, or I'm always going to feel like I'm hitting a roadblock with communication. You know what I'm saying? Or, I have my moon conjunct Pluto, so I'm just always going to have this very intense demeanor and issues within, my inner relationships with parent figures or women or my mother. That's where we start looking at things going like, okay, well, if you're feeling like a victim of your particular placements and you're using that as a crutch to stay in those old patterns, to each their own, but you're just going to end up coming back here, right? You're just going to end up back on Earth, reincarnating and going through those lessons all over again. So oftentimes, some of the more difficult placements are actually here to help us become aware of it and learn to channel those at a higher octave. Each planet is going to have different octaves. It's going to have pros and it's going to have cons and the different configurations as well. So it's all really what you do with it, and I would encourage you not to use that as an explanation for not changing your behavior. And last but not least, another way that people misuse astrology is using it as a means to avoid life challenges. It's almost like some people want to have like I guess like the shortcut, right? And there is no shortcuts in life in general. Nothing is free, right? Nobody gets a free lunch. But when we think about like seeking predictions to better map out our life so we can avoid things as well, as a result, we end up paying a much greater price down the road, whether that's having a more difficult, transit as it manifests as a conjunction or a square, or paying the price of not moving forward and taking advantage of the support that the universe is providing us for growth and forward momentum. So, it's much better, I think, to be like fully prepared for when these things happen. So we're able to meet these challenges in a positive way rather than in a way where we are avoiding, right? We want to be proactive. That's the whole purpose. We're not just divining and looking into the potential of the future as some means to be entertained, although some people might treat it that way. It's more to kind of go, okay, I want to know what's coming. Think of it as like your weather forecast, right? You need to know if it makes sense to pack an umbrella or a coat or a scarf, or if it's better to stay indoors, or, you know what I'm saying? Similar to the reference that I made to getting to where you want to go, this is also like not looking at certain transits and dreading them and trying to find ways to avoid it, because likely it'll play out the same way, right? And I can say this, I've seen this in my own life, especially when you're going through outer planet transits in general, or if you're seeing repeating themes that are going on with squares and conjunctions with outer planets. So hopefully this is helpful in just you guys having like a better understanding and appreciation, and knowing that so much of what's setting up in the cosmos right now is about helping us redefine what we know so we can better practice and embody what we believe in, and have the ability to dissolve old patterns of self-undoing, or where we make excuses, or where we're avoiding, or we're hiding out, or possibly just kind of checked out in life in general and not participating with what's going on currently. These transits have the ability to help us feel divinely inspired, and they're in turn, I think, better embody those energies of all of the Pisces planets, so we can feel more open and receptive and feel like we're having a connection with higher source, or, you know, higher power in general, so we can get on with the show and get to our life purpose. So for each of the 12 signs, just so you guys know, Venus is now in Pisces. This is positive in general because it's exalted. It will be more beneficial, obviously, for water signs, earth and water signs. Specifically, I think it's going to be, it's sweet for everybody, but it's going to be really sweet for Pisces and Scorpio and Cancer. And we'll talk about how it's also going to affect the earth signs, because earth feels like that nice kind of mix with water. You can make mud, so you can actually see a lot from the sextiles. I want to remind you guys that the relationship between Pisces and Taurus, because we're seeing sextiles between Pisces placements and the eclipses that are coming in Taurus, the North Node in Taurus, what will soon be Mercury in Taurus, is basically Pisces giving orders to Taurus saying, this is my plan, right? This is what I imagined. Here's my sketch. Go build it. This is what I saw in my dream. Can we create this? Is this possible? So they're working together right now to better determine how to build a more pleasurable, solid, reliable, comfortable, safe, secure future. So what you're seeing in dreams, what you're feeling, where you're connecting with a particular guru or a meditative practice or a spiritual practice is incredibly important. The work that we're going to be doing over the next month in this Pisces zone is really allowing us to come closer to spirit. So please be sure that you're practicing consciously taking a little bit of alone time, even if it's 10-15 minutes a day, to just sit and reflect, listen to music, maybe paint, meditate, listen to binaural beats, anything that's going to allow you to vibrationally connect so you can start actually building towards a more solid, beautiful future. So for my predictions, please listen to your rising sign. This is going to be whole Western astrology. If you would like to, also listen to your sun sign as well as your moon, so you can get a bigger picture of what this transit will entail for you. If you resonate with your progress chart, you can look at that too. Venus will be moving through the sign of Pisces from now through May 2nd. So we've got quite a bit of time. And for each and every one of the signs, I'm going to be pulling a card for you guys. Once again, I'm working with my very Pisces Ethereal Visions Illuminated Tarot deck. I love this. We have matching shirts on today. All right, so I'm going to start with Aries and Aries rising. Aries, how are you doing? Very excited to see this beautiful transit transpire for you. This is going through your 12th house. And it is definitely going to be very dreamy, very whimsical, very romantic, very spiritual for you. Having Venus go through here, especially with its conjunction to Jupiter and Neptune, can have you practicing and focusing, I think, more on just loving the goddess, loving the inner goddess in you, working more with goddess worship, Venus worship, meditation, reflections, film, photography, anything that relates to having romance behind the scenes, whether that's at a distance or with a foreigner, or just having a more divine kind of spiritual love connection in general. I think that this is very nice because it's actually saying that there are certain things that need to wrap up, so that way you can actually feel like you have kind of like a stronger, firm hold on your finances, your security, just things in general, so you're feeling like a little bit more supported here later in the spring. The card that I got for you is the Sun. Ooh. So that's interesting because it's highlighting something, you know, and the sun is actually currently in your sign. So you may be kind of experiencing this sense of feeling really enlightened, empowered. Maybe you have like a muse or something that's allowing you to channel these energies and be more creative and self-expressive. It does talk a lot about highlighting a certain area of your life. It can be highlighting the fact that you feel like you need more romance, that you need to feel wined and dined. Maybe you're watching a lot of like films and cinema stuff or things that are more like romantic in nature, and it's helping you kind of feel a little bit more happy or joyful. This can be a little bit of like a funky energy for you, Aries, because I know with all of the sun and Mercury in your sign, it feels like there's still a bit of these planets in your 12th house that kind of have your head in the clouds. So I would just say that it does make me feel like it's going to be bringing you more happiness, joy, enlightenment. But with all these planets in the 12th house, you might be feeling like, okay, I need to rest more. And really taking these inspirations or musings and allowing it to be part of how you express yourself. For Taurus and Taurus rising, this Venus transit is taking place in your 11th house. Taurus, you're ruled by Venus. So this Venus changing signs is very nice for you. I think it's amazing when you see it come into your 11th house. It makes me feel like there's a lot of love coming from friends. There's a lot of you putting love in TLC into projects or your dreams in general. It can have you wanting to reconnect with friends that you haven't seen in a while, or just going and attending parties or anything social that makes you feel like you're better connected to a group environment. Now, I think with the conjunctions that are happening, it's also telling me that your goals are changing in some way, and you're starting to feel different about what direction you're going in your life when it comes to your life goals in general. Jupiter does rule your natal 8th house, and Venus also rules your 6th. So it's almost like health goals, spiritual goals, aligning with groups and people who are going to help make you feel more spiritually balanced, but also providing you some kind of like a network in general. These may be people that are very culturally different or diverse, or they're very spiritual, who are giving you insight and also making you feel like you have come into like a new community, okay? The card that I got for you is the Wheel of Fortune. Very positive. This is Jupiter, so it's kind of saying that goals are changing for the better. Things are shifting positively. Fortune is in your favor. It is pouring positive energy into your personal sign. So whether you're a sun, moon, or rising, look at where Taurus is in your chart, because this is helping you keep the positivity, hold the momentum, and know that good things are on the way. For Gemini and Gemini rising, this is taking place in your 10th house. I think really what this is saying to me is that there is this emphasis in allowing yourself to really rise to the occasion and be a visionary out in the world. Whether you're better guiding or teaching your children, whether you're out there trying to help the masses and people who are in need, whether you're finally putting together like a nonprofit, or you're applying and getting hired for your dream job. All in all, this is very positive. Now, Venus for you does rule both your 5th and your 12th house. So it does tell me that there is like a need to be wrapping up creative projects. There is a need for you to remain open to keeping peaceful, harmonious connections to people at work, adding a little bit of sweetness when you're dealing with superiors, and just really trying to fall in love with the whole process of responsibility. That seems to be like a new lesson for you. And I think that it's going to give you the ability also to kind of be seen as like more of like a peaceful leader, not like a boss or somebody who's really intimidating. I think you're going to get a lot further with honey than you will with vinegar, so try to keep that in mind. And I think about like the 5th and the 12th house coming together and how it can be really showing a very creative side of you to your peers at work and allowing you to really kind of channel divine creative energies. Very inspiring for you, Gemini. The card that I got is the Queen of Swords. So this is like a lot of being like, this is my vision, this is what I'm seeing, this is how it's going to play out. Now, if you are a writer, a public speaker, if you are somebody who works with teaching, intellect, knowledge, anything like that, to me it seems like it's going to be a great way for you to kind of get the point across. I have a feeling that some of you guys may be doing some like guiding, or like if you're a counselor or if you're now managing somebody, like there is a sense of you being a representative also for other people, right? Being the fact that Venus is conjunct Jupiter, which is your 7th house lord, it's either like you've got somebody who is like a guru for you or a teacher, or you've got somebody who's now managing you, or vice versa. And it does seem like if you are the person doing it, you're very tuned in. If you're looking for somebody to help you, it looks to me like you're going to have somebody who's going to come in who might have a really strong air element, who can really take your vision and maybe help you articulate it better so it's much more clear. So you're redefining like who you are out in the world. So especially like if you're in PR or if you're hiring somebody to do that or somebody to help you launch something, it's a very strong time. For Cancer and Cancer rising, Venus is moving through your natal 9th house. Now, this is a sister sign, so it is very positive for you. It makes positive aspects to your personal placements in Cancer, as well as the South Node in Scorpio. So you're going to be seeing some really nice water trines and release points for you. Now, the 9th house is gurus, belief systems. It is foreign travel. It's higher education. So Venus going there, especially because Venus is the ruler of your 4th house, makes me wonder if like you have love at a distance or love abroad. It makes me wonder if you're going to be planning a move, if you're moving somewhere further away. If you are planning on moving, or if you've met somebody who lives in a different place, try to lean into that, be open to that, try to envision what your life could look like in a different city. This is also about you loving and embracing and bringing more in when it comes to your goals in general, right? Because it is kind of aligning with your 11th house lord. Venus rules Taurus. This conjunction makes me feel like some of you guys may be going on long distance trips. Maybe you're filming, you're taking photos of things. It can also be a time where a really prominent guru comes into your life. You know, Jupiter, Neptune, Venus hanging out in your 9th house makes me feel like you might be going and having meetings or going to like group collaborative things. And then you meet somebody who is just like the perfect teacher, and you're really falling in love with some kind of practice in general. I would just say be mindful that a lot of what comes through with this also is that there can be a sense of really needing to practice like clarity and like not just totally believing in everything that you see or jumping on the bandwagon when it comes to certain practices, because these conjunctions are going to be very strong. So let's see what card comes up for you. And the card that I get is the 4 of Wands. Interesting that it's your 9th house lord. So it can be some of you guys are getting married, getting engaged, talking about going to a wedding in a foreign place, traveling for a party. This is definitely the kind of energy that you get with the 4 of Wands. And it can also be talking about small celebrations and accomplishments and enjoying how far you've come in the moment. For Leo and Leo rising, this is a Venus transit through your 8th house. Kind of sexy, huh? Especially as it comes into conjunction with Jupiter and Neptune. It can be sexual healing. It can also give you the opportunity, I think, to just be more open and excited when it comes to communicating and expressing your personal feelings. You're feeling like you want to get ahead of certain situations. If you're needing to tell somebody how you feel, if you're needing to really I think, put on quite a performance at work and receive lots of positive feedback. This is something else that can happen. Venus rules your 3rd house of communication, short distance trips, and also your 10th house of career. So you can be getting some glowing reviews from peers. There can be a sense of you wanting to talk more seriously about bringing in more money, more resources, benefits, bonuses, and just starting to see your hard work actually work for you, or even maybe making your money work for you. That's something else that can happen. The card that I get is the 6 of Cups. So this can be talking about coming back around to these discussions. This is also maybe talking to somebody from the past, reminiscing about the past, reflecting on the past, and learning how to communicate and connect very sweetly and in a way where if certain things from the past do need to be dissolved emotionally or psychologically, it looks like that they will go peacefully. The 8th house is also a house that deals with just anything that triggers us, where we've had past haunts or fears or where we've been hurt. So it looks like if you've been holding on to things, you can actually let things go. But on the flip side, if you've been manifesting something, asking for someone or something to come back around, it looks like that may happen. For Virgo and Virgo rising, Venus is moving through your 7th house, and boy, is it sweet because it's making conjunctions to both Neptune and Jupiter. So this is a very pivotal time for you, Virgo and Virgo rising. It can be a time where you're falling in love. It can be a time where you meet the love of your life. It can be a time where you get run by somebody very unexpectedly who takes your money and totally deceives you. So you need to really be careful. Take off the Neptune goggles. You are more prone to seeing people with rose-colored glasses, so there can be a lot of putting people on pedestals. And you can have saints and saviors come in as well. It's just all a matter of, really sussing out that person and making sure that it's a good fit. But nevertheless, Venus moving through your 7th house is very positive. It's going to make you feel like, in theory, you have something really tangible that you can hold on to. If you've been doubting a connection, somebody may talk to you more seriously in the next couple of weeks about, could we move in together? Could we buy a home together? Could we envision getting married? Could we envision doing all of these things? And it's very dreamy, but we want to make sure, like I said, that it's practical. Now, thankfully, it is making aspects also to planets in Taurus in your 9th house, which makes me feel like you are talking about long-term plans with a partner, whether that's if you guys plan on getting married, if you're open to it, if you're moving, things like that. But it's also making aspects to Pluto in your 5th. So it does tell me that it's helping you open your heart space, heal pre-existing heartbreak, childhood blocks, trauma, things like that. So you can go deeper into love. No surprise that the card that I got is the 2 of Cups. I was waiting for it. I was like, I know that's what this is going to be for Virgo. Those of you guys who are partnered, it gets sweeter. It might go to the next level. Those of you guys who are single looking for somebody, it looks like somebody's going to show up and they have something to offer you. This is a card that talks about union, partnership, coming together and being able to share, intertwining your energies with somebody else. So later this year, Virgo, you're going to see Mars and Jupiter go into your natal 8th house, and you're going to have to start thinking about how you can really merge emotionally, sexually, and financially with another person. So it's definitely going to encourage you to be, I think, a little bit more open and vulnerable and be practicing intimacy, but growing closer to another. Very exciting. All right, so for Libra and Libra rising, you've got your chart ruler, Venus, now in Pisces. So it's going to be positive for you. It's nice to get Venus out of this Saturn-based sign. You should be feeling a little bit lighter, healthier, better balanced. Venus going into your 6th house, I think, is really reiterating the need for peace in your daily routine. Finding a schedule that is going to better balance your mind, body, but also your spirit. And it can be a time where you're focusing more on sobriety. You can be focusing more on health, meditation, anything that requires you to feel like you're living your life in a state of flow. That's going to be really important for you. Now, Venus coming into conjunction with Neptune and also with Jupiter is really reiterating the need to, I think, be implementing new, mindset into your daily routine. I think that's going to be part of this. Sorry, I'm going through looking for your card because my phone is acting up for whatever reason. It's done it several times throughout this video. So I'm like, okay, am I missing something? Is there something going on that I need to be catching? Obviously, there's some kind of interference. It's so weird. Jupiter, Neptune, gremlins in my office today. All right, sorry, I want to be super focused because the card that you got was actually pretty bang on for what you've got going on currently. Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? It was the, sorry, stay with me. It was the Seven of Cups. So when I think of Seven of Cups, it's about getting overwhelmed with too many options, being in a situation where you're all over the place and it's hard for you to focus, and you might be noticing that there's like been energy drains. This is usually, you see this card with all the different cups and all the different visions. So it can be kind of saying, feeling like your energy is all over the place and trying to better ground this and not feel like you're so overwhelmed with so many choices. I would advise you not to be looking for like get healthy quick schemes. Diets, pills, supplements. Be very mindful that your body can be very sensitive to things right now. And if you're really buying into the illusion of something that can just fix everything, it can actually make something worse. If you've been having issues with memory, losing things, forgetting things, feeling really groggy, not totally grounded, realize that there can be actual spiritual energies and things that are keeping you kind of a little ungrounded, not completely checked in. I would say that this is also about not getting overwhelmed with your to-do list and all the things that you have to do, which can create a lot of mental distress. For the most part, though, Jupiter coming into conjunction, I think, with Neptune, and also with Venus coming into conjunction with Neptune and Jupiter, it's like you might actually hire an assistant. You might bring somebody in who can help you. You might join a cause or feel like you want to help people who are in need. There can be a sense of you wanting to participate in something with helping feed people, or working more with animals, or just kind of finding that you're giving back. Venus in this part of the chart has this energy of like wanting to assist and help heal other people. In turn, your health, spiritual health, mental health can get better. I would advise you, if you need to be seeing specialist doctors, following up on treatments, or even considering going to a spa, soaking and detoxing. It can be really positive for just kind of clearing all these energies. Libra, you store your karma in your body. Okay, Pisces in the 6th house. Your spirit is very much a part of your physical bodily reactions and just your health in general. So if you're starting to see that things aren't really flowing, there might be something kind of more spiritual or energetic going on. So getting a clearing or just soaking can be very helpful. For Scorpio and Scorpio rising, this is a transit of Venus through your 5th house. You are also a water sign, so Pisces is your sister. Super magical for you. I think it's about restoring the faith in the inner child, creativity, romance, playtime. Looks very positive. If you are somebody who is been lacking in the inspiration department, if you have been feeling creatively unfulfilled, this is definitely going to change. It's involving your 12th and also your 7th house ruler. So maybe you're more fixated on film, photography, making memories, taking photos, feeling inspired when it comes to film, finding a muse or hidden talents that you can kind of assist other people in creative projects with. This is in a water sign, so it's very fertile. So you might notice with the aspects between your 7th house and also your 5th house, you're feeling more romantic. Some really nice dates and dinners and evenings can be had with these conjunctions. And if you are somebody who is wanting to get pregnant, have a better relationship with a child, adopt a child, or be working with your inner child, this is a transit that is definitely going to be promising that for you. Interestingly enough, you also got the 2 of Cups. So you and Virgo seem to be the ones who are really focusing on partnership, right in line with the astrology, coming together with another person. But I think in your 5th house, it's, well, what do we create together? Are we creating a more romantic environment? Are we focusing more on coming together and enjoying pleasure? And you know, Pisces in the 5th is so whimsical and it's so romantic. It's not just your stereotypical, like, we'll just make dinner. It's like, no, wining and dining and the candles and the environment and really playing the role of being the lover. So it's really about what you're bringing to the table and how you're not just filling up your cup, but somebody else's as well. We've got Sag and Sag rising. Venus is going into your 4th house, which deals with home, family. Great time to be redecorating your home, integrating spirituality or setting up an altar. Getting your place feng shui is something else that might be really positive to improve the energies of a space that you're staying in or make it feel more expansive. Your home zone is going to be like your temple. So some of you guys are going to be updating kitchens. Some of you guys are putting in meditation rooms. Other people are focusing on finding home. But I want to remind you that home is within yourself. With Jupiter meeting with Neptune and Venus in your 4th house, it makes me feel like there can be sweet connections to family who visit from far away or who you haven't seen for some time. But it can also be a time of transitions and having to like learn to let some things go to bring in something that is new. So, you know, sometimes you guys will look at relocating and going to a place far away. I think that's the case for some of you. Some of you guys might be going back to your place of birth. It really depends. But this is a very interesting transit because it does promise that there's going to be new home opportunities, expansions, new members of the family. But the card that I pulled for you is the Death card. So it's interesting because it's like life and death. They have this real intricate kind of dance, and like you can't have one without the other. So it may feel like there's a lot of putting things to rest, you know, putting the past in the past, letting the past dissolve, like letting the past go so that way you can really enter and embark in this new opportunity for your new life, your new emotional state, your new family. But it is required to kind of let certain things go or dissolve. So it's all about looking at the Death card, kind of like, you know, when you go to a funeral, sometimes you've got like the aunt that's yelling and screaming and grabbing onto the casket and crying and doesn't want to accept the death. Then you've got like the crazy uncle that's like wearing the Hawaiian shirt and, you know, celebrating that person's life and like wanting to laugh and share stories and really bring that joy to them kind of moving on to their next chapter in their journey. That's how I see the Death card. You can go one of two ways. Really, the choice is yours. But know that if there are certain things coming to an end right now that are scary or something that's not so pleasant, it's really trying to clear house and make it possible for you to get to the next step, okay? Capricorn and Cap rising, you guys have Pisces going into your 3rd house. This is all about sweeter communication. Venus rules your natal 10th house of career. It also rules your 5th house of creativity. I feel like you might get glowing reviews for a job well done. I feel like if you're in a creative field and you're wanting to focus more on creative writing, storytelling, being able to show your talents when it comes to writing and self-expression. If you are trying to learn a language, teach a course, maybe some of you guys will be getting new cars and vehicles because the 3rd house does deal with short distance trips, maybe a new laptop or a phone that can come up as well. Sweeter conversations with siblings. But for the most part, I feel like it's going to allow you to tap into this more kind of divinely connected channeling type of vibe with your energy. I think that you're going to learn you're going to get a lot further with honey and sweetness than you are kind of being pessimistic or being negative. I think a lot of you guys are kind of coming out of what's been a rather challenging couple of months for you. And it's giving you the opportunity to just focus more on finding more creativity and connection in your daily routine. If you're feeling like taking a language class, a writing class, anything that's going to make you feel like you can get the hang of a language or self-expression, please do it. I think it'll bring you more joy and happiness. And if you want to add some sweetness also to your car, you can do that. You can add some new trim or something like that. I think you deserve to treat yourself though with that 9 of Pentacles coming up. It makes me feel like for you personally, it's a little bit of like, okay, I'm going to do something for myself, but I'm going to do it in a different way. It's not like going and buying yourself a fancy car. It's like going and buying something that is going to be affordable, but still comfortable. So you have a little bit of money left over to go on a trip or take a course or focus on buying a new program. So there's something like this that's saying like, yes, I can treat myself, but I'm learning to treat myself in different ways and in ways that's going to feel not necessarily just lavish, but something that's actually going to kind of better me in general. I love the fact that it's making aspects to your 5th house because I think it's also reminding you that when it comes to dating, how you treat yourself, talk to yourself, how you view yourself is an important piece of the puzzle. So that way you can go deeper into love and be finding people who are equally going to be valuing you. For Aquarius and Aquarius rising, this is Venus going into your second house Pisces, coming into conjunction soon with Neptune and Jupiter. Whoa, there can be major spending power coming up for you. There can be huge accomplishments financially going on, big payouts, big earns that can be happening in the next couple of weeks. I think it's interesting that Venus rules your 4th house of home and also your 9th house, which is Libra. So it makes me wonder if you're like taking money and buying land in a place that's foreign to you, if you're thinking about putting money into a home or property long term, if you and a partner are talking about the best way to make it an investment for a home that might be a vacation home. You know, the list goes on. I would say that anytime Jupiter going through your second house, you see a boost in your income, but when Venus comes through, it's definitely going to help you. And it may come through a partner, it may come from somebody afar or overseas. But equally, I think it's something that you're putting back into your home space. So you're, buying property, expanding property, maybe buying your first home, maybe you're just improving the overall kind of value of something that you have already purchased. Large purchases can come later at the end of April going into May. But this is also like you get what you pay for. It's a lot about your self-worth. It's a lot about realizing that you need to focus on what your personal value system are and what you believe about love and resources. Well, this is interesting. You get the Lover's card. So this does tell me that it's about being like, oh, I really love this thing. I love this feeling. I love this product, or I'm putting money into something I love. It's a labor of love. So maybe you're focusing on making a new business that could involve art or something that has you feeling very inspired. And maybe you're sharing it with other people. I mean, artistic talents can fall under the second house, especially with Neptune and Jupiter kind of coming into alignment. I think a lot of this is also going to be about you realizing what your goals are when it comes to resources and where you can actually let some of them go. So that way you can kind of create space for things that are going to feel more fulfilling. I think it can be very passionate, can definitely bring in lots of opportunity for you to collaborate with somebody else and really fall in love with something. It can be a new talent though. It doesn't necessarily have to be a person per se. And last but not least, we've got Pisces and Pisces rising. So Venus is in your sign. I hope you're taking lots of pictures. You're going to be more beautiful than usual this month, a lot more attractive. You're glowing. You're bringing lots of energy into you. But this is also about compassion and emotions and how you're learning that one of the most attractive traits you might have is the fact that you can be very compassionate and empathic with other people, and you're feeling emotions stronger than usual. You might be feeling a little bit more dreamy and whimsical and creative. So if you're an artist or a poet or a mystic, this can be, this is your energy, baby. Like really enjoy the next couple of weeks, because it's going to have you really thinking about divine love and harmony and peace, and how you can bring more of that into your life. And when you're living a life that is authentic and that you love, and that's about creating things or sharing with other people, you're happier in general, right? So the other thing that's cool is that in your chart specifically, where Venus is kind of connected, it's really tying together in a very strong way anything relating to changes and transformations, right? Because Venus rules your natal 8th house, which deals with Scorpio. It also rules Taurus for you, so that's very much connected to how you're communicating and how you're sharing with the world and things like that. I think that the more that you lean into this and you start thinking about how you can communicate and express yourself differently, how you can be using words of power and invoking and doing like magic and stuff, you can actually start to see change. But I think it's also about expressing and learning to be more compassionate with yourself, especially as you kind of undergo a review of what might have been some difficult or challenging or traumatic events. That's another way that I can look at it. But the 3rd house is all about the mind and how we think. So perhaps like writing music, poetry, things like that can be really nice outlets for you. or just walking more, or listening to words on tape, or like, audiobooks can also be helpful. The card that I get is the Six of Wands. So that can also be talking about changing and transforming something about the way that you're received, or about how you're traveling or getting around. This is a card that's about victory and coming out victorious, or having like homecomings of sorts. So I think that this is about kind of finding more balance. So if you do feel like you need to travel, if you do feel like you need to go back home, if you do feel like you need to be places, then you're able to kind of rearrange your thoughts to make that possible, in the way that you're communicating where you need to go and when you need a break. That's something else that can be coming up for you. Being that Venus is crossing your ascendant, I would say pay attention, because the Jupiter, Neptune, Venus conjunctions at the end of the month is definitely going to be kind of like the climax of the love goggles. So there can be a sense of just you seeing people very strongly and having these really strong Venus Neptunian vibes, where it's like love at first sight. Vice versa, it could be other people who are really attracted and lured to you also because of your appearance as well. Regardless, this is a card that talks about, like I said, being victorious or well received. So if you're trying to make a good impression, if you're trying to take photos, if you're trying to give a presentation, if you're trying to connect with somebody, it seems like it will be well received. So this is just a little snippet of the Neptune-Jupiter conjunction video that I already did. And I also talked about this also in my horoscopes. But I hope this is helpful. I felt really compelled to come and talk more so about, like I said, fate versus free will, and where we find the line in between. I hope this inspires you to take charge of what's going on in your life right now. Really stick to some of those dream plans, and really be open to what the universe has in store for you. Even if it does mean that it is dissolving and dismantling certain things in your life, we have to hold faith in the belief that we're building into a future that is going to give us more security, more passion, more love, more beauty, and really allow us to kind of feel better grounded. So for many of us, this can be a bit of a disorienting time when we realize that in order to get to what we're manifesting, we have to let certain things go. And practicing grace and appreciation for that process, being willing to be open to what Spirit has to tell us in terms of where we actually grow and gain spiritual knowledge in allowing some of this stuff to fall away, and where we benefit from holding our beliefs strong, holding on to our faith, our beliefs, our prayers right now, and trust in the universe that there is a divine plan for what's happening. Do not miss this opportunity to manifest. It is extremely, extremely powerful. So add a little bit of love to whoever Pisces is in your chart. Know that that's nurturing and helping kind of create this really amazing image for what you're building and manifesting in the Taurus part of your life. Where are these transits happening for you in your chart? Let me know. I love hearing in the comments how you guys are really kind of seeing this play out in your life. Yeah, I'm excited to see how it's playing out for you guys. So let me know in the comments. Otherwise, I will be back later this week with a live show. Actually, I'm going to be doing live readings Saturday night, 7 o'clock p.m. Pacific, 10 o'clock p.m. Eastern. We're going to be doing live readings. I think it's Astro. Yeah. So it's going to be astrology. So I'll be posting that link here probably tomorrow if you want to get in and get a reading or join my memberships. If you want to book a reading with me, check out my links below. You can find my website at beyondtheveiltarot.com. I got openings in May. And I will be back with Astro Weather on Sunday. We're going to be talking about the full moon in Libra that's coming. It's going to be bananas. So I'm excited to get that video out early for you guys and let you know what's kind of happening. If you have certain topics or things that you want to know about in terms of astrology, I'm always happy to hear that. Shoot me an email. You can find it on my website. You can also find me on Instagram. So if you want to follow me and see some of my astrology posts, follow my Instagram. My link is below. I'm on Twitter and Facebook and other things too. Otherwise, you guys enjoy the rest of your week, and I will see you very soon. Take care.